Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, I'm your host, Officer Dan, longtime best friend and professional hugger. Today we're bringing you to the Z33 350Z, Z34 370Z extended dual stud diff cover. Gone are the days digging deep into the bowels of the internet to try to find a discontinued Pathfinder diff, which is what I have, and that may or may not be delivered once you ordered from a totally legit website called franksusedparts.com. Not to mention that the discontinued Pathfinder cover does not fit the S-chassis subframes all that well, which means that yes, S-chassis dudes that are doing a Z-diff conversion, this one's for you as well. We gotcha. We list out all the different ways to mount said cover on said product page, and here you'll see all the different options, such as having a steel subframe or an aluminum one, whether it be bolt-in, or even offering solid and polyurethane bushing options. Hot damn. We also managed to sneak in some flux fittings throughout to make sure that fluid gets delivered properly. Flux, yeah. Anywho, in our case, we're fitting up to a steel subframe and have chosen the weld-in option, so if you're ready, let's go. Alright, now in our case, we're already dropping the rear subframe for some other rear end goodies and adventures, so we will be doing this ordeal outside the car, but it can be done with the subframe in the car, so keep that in mind. Now you should know by now how to remove the rear differential from the subframe, so we've saved your precious time on this planet by not covering that in this video. If you do need to know how, we have a plethora of other videos showing this in our other diff related Z videos. Anywho, once you have the diff out, one handy pro tip is to get 2 jack stands and have the diff facing upwards like you can see on the screen, and it's much easier to work on, plus it saves you from making an absurd mess everywhere when you pop that cover off, just like I did when I did my own. Go ahead and zap all the surrounding bolts from the cover that secure it to the diff, and use the 2 leverage points on the diff housing to pop the cover of the diff off, then get that out of the way. Get that cover onto the bench, and in our case we're fitting this to the new Z34Z, so we will be stealing the OEM temp sensor that is fitted to the bottom. Other models probably won't have this, so don't freak out if it's not there. Sling your spanner in there, loosen and remove said sensor, keeping that somewhere safe for now. As for the old single studded cover, use it to hold a door open, an ashtray, or a party hat, or throw it away. This freaking liability is now useless. Next up, get a razor or similar and clean off any silicone that may be on the diff housing, making sure that's clean as possible. Then get some brake clean and spray that onto your second favorite rag, as the first favorite is probably busy doing cool guy stuff. Then go ahead and wipe the surface of the diff housing down, making sure it's clean and dry so the new silicone can bite and seal. Head on over to the bench where the heroic life-saving dual studded cover lays in all of its glory. And inside said cover you'll notice 2 bolt holes that are there to mount the internal baffle to. Go ahead and slide said baffle inside the cover, setting that in place for now. Now go ahead and locate the 2 bolts that secure said baffle and inject a nice amount of high strength thread sealer onto the thread. Wind those bolts down and tighten and torque them suckers to the specs shown here on the screen. Now go ahead and install the magnetic drain plug as well as the plug next to it. Then you just need to tighten and torque to the specs shown on the screen here. In our case, we'll be fitting the OEM temp sensor. If your diff did not have the temp sensor, then go ahead and tighten that to the same specs listed on the screen. Now head over to the fill plug side and wind them in. You'll need to top up the diff oil later to the added capacity of the cover, so you can leave that bottom one nipped up just for now, as it's just to fill the hole. But for the top side one, if you don't plan on running an external oil cooler, then you're going to want to tighten and torque those to the specs shown right here. Head on over to the top side and screw in the flux top fitting with the supplied washer, whilst obviously going ahead and tightening that down. Once that's tight, go ahead and screw the 90-degree also flux fitting in, making sure that it's facing the left corner so it can breathe in the right direction, and holding that little gem and tightening that down as well. Then head to the front side, screwing those studs down and in, shove the hex drive in the center, and tighten the studs down hand tight so they feel nice and or firm. Go ahead and wind the nuts off both and remove the washers also. We will need them for later. Go ahead and flip that ish around and lay that flat. Get your third favorite rag and wipe down the cover just to make sure it's ultra clean. Go ahead and get your favorite high quality silicone and lay an ultra aesthetic bead like we're doing here on the screen. Props to DK on the precision there, man. What a guy. Don't get too little that you're the guy that has an annoying leak and has to reseal the cover every season, but not too thick that it goops out like the 2,000 calories of peanut butter and jelly sandwich you just inhaled whilst watching this video. Just a nice amount. Go ahead and throw the cover onto the diff that's anxiously waiting to be sealed and wind in a couple of bolts to the cover that are there to hold it in place. Now go ahead and install the rest of the diff cover bolts and tighten them in a crisscross pattern. You want the load to spread evenly across the whole cover, then go back over it twice to make sure all the bolts have been tightened properly and evenly to the specs shown on the screen below. And your cover is on, thankfully. Now, no dust, dirt, small children, or birds can get into that open diff. And now comes the hardest part to do in the 21st century, which is simply waiting and being patient. You need to let that silicone cure and set. Go back to the diff. Now in our case, we left this loose as our diff had the OEM temp sensors. So this is where you would need to fit the diff temp sensor that we removed from the OEM diff cover earlier. Bringing up said diff sensor and spraying that thing with some brake clean, giving it a wipe. You want this thing ultra clean so the thread sealer can penetrate. Go ahead and smear that thread sealer across the threads like we are showing on the screen. Install the washer that came with the sensor. Screw that down, tighten, and torque to the specs shown here. If you didn't have a sensor, then you would have tightened this earlier to the specs listed on the screen as well. Still let the diff rest in that silicone cure for as long as you can, and whilst we are waiting, we can attack the subframe. Okay, we have a steel subframe and have chosen to weld our bushing in, but lucky for us, the engineers have given other options, such as bolting said bushing in. Do cover the bolt-in option on another one of our What's Doing with Dylan videos, so give that a peep if you've gone down the bolt-in option. For our setup though, we're planning on welding this sucker in. To weld said sucker in, you will notice that there will be a handy weld-in guide that would have come with the kit you ordered. This is also available on the website if you accidentally lost it, caught it on fire, or spilt diff fluid all over it. Now on said super smart and handy guide, you'll see everywhere where you need to cut. Up on the screen with our super ultra zoomed in pan, these are the holes we'll be lining the guide up to on the front side, which we will be starting with. So whip that guide over to the top of the main bushing and rotate that until the holes line up. You can test this awkwardly by dangling your finger inside and checking. Anywho, use your favorite marker to mark on the front side, then head over to the back side and use the main bushing to again anchor the guide. Then use that left side hole on the guide to line this OEM hole up in the subframe, get your favorite marking device again, and apply said dot to said subframe. Get a pin punch and punch right in the middle of that marking you just did. While you have your pin punch handy, head over to the front side and pin punch the dot you marked there, and once that's done, you're ready for some drilling, my boy. Get your favorite drill and start by drilling a pilot hole, which is a small sized hole to get you started. Do this on the front side, then swing over to the back side and drill the same pilot hole there. Now's the time to head on over and reference the install guide that came with whatever setup you chose. This means that, being as we offer a bolt-in and or weld-in option, the sizes of the bushings do vary, which means the hole you will need will also vary, so please keep that in mind. With that said, get the hole saw, double checking that this is the same size as the bushing. You can see we're demonstrating on the screen right now. Attach that to your drill, line that sucker up, and drill into said pilot hole. Once that's been done, it wouldn't hurt to check to make sure your buddy didn't hand you the wrong hole saw and that you used the correct size. Check and see if the bushing fits through the hole. You should be good to go on that side. Now head over to the back side and get the hole saw and drill just like you did on the front. Again, checking to make sure that the bushing slides all the way through. If it does, great job. If it doesn't, Lord knows what you and your attention span are doing. Now's the time to clean the area and prep it for whelping. To do this, get a grinder or cleaning disc, not a cutting disc. You want to use anything really to clean the paint off said subframe so the welds can stick. Do this to the front side and the back side. Because you're welding the bushing to the subframe, the bushing needs to be free from any coating. So buzz that thing down as well. Now is the time you're going to want to fit the diff back into the subframe, and thanks to David Blaine over here, it's easy as the click of a finger. Boom! If only it was that easy in real life. The reason for us fitting the diff back into the subframe is that you want the diff to be sitting where it naturally will be, and we can then fit the bushing to the diff and to the subframe as they naturally are. So go ahead and fit the buzz down bushing to the diff along with the supplied washer and nut, tightening and torquing that to the specs shown below. Also making sure that David Blaine tightened the back of the diff as well. That means everything is sitting true, and the only thing floating here is the bushing, which we will now whelp in place. With that being said, either lug this whole subframe over to the reputable fabrication shop or get one of your buddies that hopefully knows what he's doing and come down and lay some sick dimes down, welding this bushing into the subframe. If you do get your buddy to do it, don't stare directly at the light like a moth to flame, as we promise you'll have a bad time. Once whoever's welping the bushing is finished, go ahead and throw some paint over the top to protect the exposed metal from the rust demons. And then from there, go ahead and finish refitting that diff to the subframe, connecting up the top breather to the flux fitting, as well as any wiring you disconnected while refitting the subframe back to the car. Now that everything is sitting as it should and jacked up on even ground and definitely horizontal, this is the time you should top off your fluid. This can be done by removing the bottom side fill plug and filling it up just until it pours out of the hole and or is sitting underneath the fill plug hole like we're showing in these high-tech animations on the screen right now. Then obviously tighten that plug up and torque it down to the specs we listed earlier in the video. Apart from that, guys, enjoy putting some power through the drivetrain of your Z and or S chassis if you have the Z diff in the rear, and rest easy at night knowing this cover will cop anything you throw at it from here on in. Enjoy these sweet, sweet pans and the sweet, sweet cover that we're super proud of as we continue to assemble the rest of our rear end from here. And speaking of proud rear ends, these are the dudes that throw these videos together to help entertain and educate the younger generation of shredders and rippers. If you don't know what you're doing, especially on this one, please get some help both personally and mechanically, as it'll save you a bunch of time, and know that we're there to help you out mechanically and personally, so feel free to shoot us an email and we'll do what we can with words on the screen. This has been Officer Dan, Johnny Caps, and DK with another one of the world's best how-to videos. We'll catch you on the flip side. Peace.